Hi everyone and welcome, this is the Apostate Prophet. Today I want to talk to you about inbreeding. I'm aware that this video might be a bit offensive to some people, especially to Zoroastrians, but there are not many of them around anyway, so who cares? To be quite honest, my parents are first cousins. So I'm also the son of two cousins who united in marriage, but no worries, I'm quite a stable genius. Okay, seriously, since I mentioned it, it's true. My parents are also first cousins. That's probably why I always make such weird jokes and laugh all the time. Okay, seriously. It is true, but it is also not very surprising, because studies show that cousin marriages are very, very common among Muslims. Some studies even estimate that half of Muslims in the world are children of two cousins. Because cousin marriages are, as said, very common, and they are the norm, they are the standard in many areas where Muslims live. It's quite normal that in such places, people marry their cousins. In many cases, in many of those cases, the couple, they don't even have much to say in this. Because the siblings, the parents, arrange the marriages for them. I'll go through this, but first I want to talk about the results of cousin marriages and incest. It was known long before modern times that marriages between cousins were not very healthy and also not very interesting. But modern science shows us that the closer the relative, the higher the chances are that the offspring is born with abnormalities such as genetic disorders and disabilities. Studies show that the risk of having a congenital abnormality, an abnormality from birth, is about 3% in normal marriages, while it is twice as high, 6%, in first cousin marriages. From there you can correctly assume that the risk is even higher when even closer relatives are married, or lower when further relatives are married. Disabilities are not the only risk. Other studies also show that stillbirths are associated with consanguineous marriages. So even though there is no specific agreed figure in this, it is observed that among stillbirths there is a much higher percentage of cousin marriages than among successful births. So the risks of having a disabled baby or a stillbirth are not as high as people think it is, but it is there, it exists. And it is considerably higher than normal marriages, so why even go that way and have and produce people like this or this? If you don't know who the first one is, you're wasting your life. You probably know the second one because he is a most intelligent person and also a medical doctor. I'm sorry, I swear this is the last time I talk about him. But since I don't believe in anything, there's also not much I can swear on, so I'll probably do it again.
I'm sorry, your knowledge is so weak and I wouldn't like to continue.
Let's talk about the prevalence of marriages between relatives. The history of such marriages is pretty old, but in many cultures it was always seen as something that is not preferred because it's not right. It was common among royals to practice consanguineous marriages, so that their wealth and legacy would stay within the family. That has also caused problems in dynasties, such as the Austrian Habsburg dynasty, that was so inbred that they even had an extremely disabled king, Charles II of Spain. Nowadays, marriages between two close relatives are very rare in the world, but not everywhere. If we just look at a map that shows us the prevalence of consanguineous marriages in the world, no one will be surprised why cousin marriages are nowadays associated with Islam. Here is the map. As you can see on this map, cousin marriages are very low everywhere across the world, except in the Islamic world. In the US, for example, it is below 1%, while in other countries with the European backgrounds, it is lower than 4%. It is lower than 4% almost everywhere. It is higher than 5% almost only in the Islamic world. Two exceptions here are India and Sri Lanka. But in India, cousin marriages are generally shunned and prohibited, but practiced in the south and by many Muslims. It shouldn't be too big of a surprise that Muslims raise the number of cousin marriages in India, because in Pakistan the percentage of cousin marriages is estimated to be higher than 50 or even 60%. Can you believe that? In Nigeria again, where the country is split between Christians and Muslims, the rate of cousin marriages is dominated by the Muslim population. About Sri Lanka, I have no idea what's going on in Sri Lanka. If anyone knows, please enlighten me. As mentioned at the beginning, cousin marriages are very common among Muslims. In many Muslim cultures, it is even considered to be some kind of virtue, some form of good practice to marry close relatives. There are even proverbs, in Turkish for example, pointing out that marrying your close relatives is much better than marrying some stranger. Yes, these proverbs actually exist. That's the mentality. Many Muslims don't even know that there are dangers that come together with marrying your cousins and making babies. Others think it's not even worth mentioning because the risk is in the end not as high as the risk that you have if you have sex with your siblings. So why bother, you know? But when you see that Muslims widely practice cousin marriages across the world, you might think it has probably something to do with Islam, right? I mean, there must be reasons to this. Well, there are. The first thing to think of when this matter is discussed in relation to Islam is Quran verse 23 in chapter 4. The verse lists marriages that are forbidden and doesn't mention cousin marriages, so it allows them implicitly. Prohibited to you from marriage are your mothers, your daughters, your sisters, your father's sisters, your mother's sisters, your brother's daughters, your sister's daughters, your milk mothers who nursed you, your sisters through nursing, your wife's mothers, and your stepdaughters under your guardianship, born of your wives unto whom you have gone in. But if you have not gone into them, there is no sin upon you. And also prohibited are the wives of your sons who are from your own loins, and that you take in marriage two sisters simultaneously, except for what has already occurred. Indeed, Allah is ever forgiving and merciful. Yeah, if you read this verse over and over, it becomes just weirder and weirder. According to this verse, cousin marriages are allowed. There is no other mention in any other Islamic source whatsoever about this matter. Today, because science shows us the ugly truth, some moderate Muslims propose that there are actually hadiths that discourage cousin marriages, even though such a thing doesn't exist. All of those hadiths that are brought up by moderate Muslims in order to challenge people about cousin marriage have no basis at all. Islamic scholars grade those hadiths as extremely unreliable because they have no reliable chain of sources and the narrators are unreliable. Also, if Muhammad really had discouraged cousin marriages, he wouldn't have done it himself. The life of Muhammad and his companions is called the Sunnah and is seen as the perfect way to live, an example for all Muslims, for all humankind. Well, Muhammad married his first cousin Zainab bin Jahsh. That's also the same Zainab who was married to his adoptive son, whom Muhammad married right after they divorced. What is more important and shocking about this marriage is that Muhammad said clearly that Allah arranged this marriage. So Allah made Muhammad marry his cousin and set an example for the whole future, for all humankind, for all the Muslims. Muhammad also arranged the marriage between his cousin Ali and his daughter Fatima. Ali is a very important person in Islam, more so in Shia Islam. Ali is the fourth caliph in Islam. Umar, the second caliph, also married his cousin. So among the first 5 leaders of Islam, of which one is the Holy Prophet, the founder of the religion, 3 married their cousins. Of course, Muslims have no problem with it and think it's a great thing to do. Nowadays, Muslims make up miracles. They say that Allah and Muhammad predicted things that no one could have known back then. Of course, all of them are totally fake. In today's time, where we know that cousin marriages increase and double the risk of having disabled children and bring along other risks as well, we should of course expect that a God and his holy prophet, especially if they talked about the matter, could have warned us about cousin marriages. If Allah was all-knowing, and Muhammad even split the moon in 2 with Allah's help, why did they not warn us about the risks of consanguineous marriages, when these marriages were even practiced in their time? Did Allah think it's not so important to mention that you might have disabled kids if you have sex with your cousins? Were Allah and Muhammad aware that such marriages increase the risk of having disabled children, but Allah still arranged Muhammad's marriage to his wife, to his cousin? Is this what Islam wants, disabled people? Just think about it. Thank you for watching. If you like this video and if you like my content in general, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And please consider supporting me on Patreon to help me create more articles and videos like this. You can easily sign up on Patreon through the link in the description and can pledge a monthly amount of only $1, $2, or $5, or even more if you want. I would appreciate it so much, and it would help me to focus only on this. I would, with your help, make so much more of this. You can also follow me on social media for updates. I'm very active on Twitter and on Instagram. And if you like reading articles, I'm also a writer on Geller Report for Pamela Geller, and I have a few articles there and more will come. Thank you for your time and stay away from incest. Thank you for your time and stay away from Islam.